All right, let's talk about something real. If you call a Jersey Shore home, you know hurricane season isn't just something you see on the news. It's a reality we gear up for every single year. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to walk through a really straightforward guide to getting yourself and your home ready. So I got to ask you, are you really ready for the next big one? It sounds simple, right? But you and I both know there's a huge difference between thinking you're prepared and actually knowing you are. Those are two totally different feelings when you hear that winds start to pick up. And that's exactly what this is all about. We're going to break down the simple, practical steps you can take to protect what really matters, your home, your loved ones. So let's kick things off by getting to know what we're actually dealing with. Okay, part one, know your enemy. Look, you can't prepare for something if you don't really get what it is, right? So understanding the threat, that's your absolute first line of defense. We've all heard about the categories, right? Category 1, 2, 3, but take a second and actually look at the words here. It's how fast things escalate that's kind of scary. We go from moderate damage in a Cat 1 to devastating in a Cat 3. I mean, that's a huge leap. Once you're in that major hurricane territory, Cat 3 or higher, it's not about losing some shingles anymore. We're talking about a completely different level of threat to your home. But here's something that is so important, especially for us in Jersey. If you only focus on the wind speed, you're making a massive mistake. The wind is just one part of a much bigger and definitely much wetter picture. You know, for the shore, storm surge is the big one. That's that wall of water the hurricane shoves onto land. And honestly, it's often the deadliest part. But hey, don't think you're safe just because you're not on the boardwalk. The rain from these storms can cause insane flooding miles inland. And here's one people always forget about: tornadoes. Yeah, hurricanes can spin up tornadoes as they move across the state. All right, so you hear hurricane watch and hurricane warning on the news. What's the actual difference for you? Think of a watch as your 48-hour heads up. This is your cue to calmly get your stuff together, finalize your plan, but a warning? That's go time. That means the storm is expected within 36 hours. This is your last chance to button everything up and be ready to evacuate if they tell you to go. Knowing the difference here isn't just nice to know. It's absolutely critical. Okay, so we know the risks. Now, how do we deal with them? It all comes down to having a plan. And I don't mean some generic list you download. I mean your family's personal blueprint for staying safe. A really good plan has these 4 main parts. We're going to hit on each one, because if you skip even one of these, you've got a pretty big hole in your safety net. First up, your Go Kit. This thing is your lifeline if you lose power or have to get out of Dodge. You know the basics: water, food, first aid. But seriously, don't forget the personal stuff, like any medications you need. And here's a great tip for your important documents: scan them, save them to the cloud, and put them on a little password-protected USB drive you keep in the kit. That way you've got them no matter what. And the key is, this whole kit needs to be ready to grab before the season even starts. And listen, just thinking, oh, I'll just jump on the parkway when they say to evacuate, that is not a plan. That's wishful thinking. What are you going to do when it's a parking lot? Or worse, when it's flooded? You need a plan A route, and you absolutely need a plan B. And just as important, if you get separated, where does everyone meet up? Pick a local spot and pick another one further inland. Make sure every single person in your family knows where they are. Here is such a simple but brilliant strategy. After a storm, local cell service can get totally jammed. It's often way easier to call long distance than to call your neighbor. So, pick a friend or a relative who lives out of state to be your family's central point of contact. The plan is simple. Everyone calls or texts that one person to say they're okay. And please don't forget your pets. They're family. They need their own little Go Kit with food, water, and their records. And here's the really crucial part. You cannot just assume a shelter will take your pet. Most won't. You need to figure out which hotels are pet-friendly or where the designated pet shelters are along your route. And you need to do it now, not when you're scrambling to leave. Okay, so your family plan is solid. Now let's talk about your biggest investment, your house. It's time to turn that house into a fortress. So, what does that really mean? How do you actually turn your home into a fortress? Well, it's all about finding the weak spots in your house and making them stronger, long before a storm is even on the radar. Think of it like a home armor checklist. It's pretty straightforward. First, secure your windows and doors. Second, clear your yard of anything that could fly. Third, stop water from getting in. And last but definitely not least, take a look at your insurance. Your windows and doors, especially big ones, are super vulnerable to wind. If you don't have storm shutters, the next best thing is plywood that you've already cut to size and labeled for each window. And think about your garage door. It's like a giant sail. If that thing fails, the wind gets inside and the pressure can literally rip your roof off. You've got to make sure it's reinforced. You can even get bracing kits for it. And I'm not exaggerating here. Anything you leave in your yard can become a missile. Your patio furniture, your grill, your kids' toys. In 100-mile-an-hour winds, those things turn into projectiles. They can smash right through a window. So the rule is simple. If you can move it, it comes inside. Okay, let's talk water. A hurricane can dump a crazy amount of rain, like a foot or more, super fast. If your gutters are clogged up, where does all that water go? Yeah, right under your roof and into your walls. And here's another thing. Your sump pump. It runs on electricity, right? What happens when the power goes out? Which it almost certainly will. That's why a battery backup for your sump pump isn't a luxury. It could literally save your basement. So there you have it. We've talked about the storm itself, the plan for your family, and how to button up your house. I know it can feel like a lot, but the key thing to remember is that the power to get through this safely, it's all in your hands. And really, that's the big takeaway here. You can't stop a hurricane from coming, but you can 100% control how prepared you are for it. Every little thing you do, packing that kit, cleaning those gutters, it all chips away at the risk and makes you and your family that much safer. Look, the time to get ready isn't when the storm is already named and on the map. The time is now, when it's calm and the sun is out. So don't wait. Pick one thing from this list, just one. What can you do today? Are you going to go check the batteries in your flashlights? Map out that backup route? What's it going to be? The first step is up to you.